Ladies and gentlemen, how you all doing? This is Con Ulrich.
And I'm Mangru. Hello, hello, hello.
And folks, we're on the Gingerbread map itself, Orsha East, to bring you some more SD2 League play. And Rang, something as wonderful is happening here. I see something that's not just two Vanguards. Who do we have?
On the left-hand side in blue, we have Yuejin playing as Pangelair with a Vanguard income. And on the right-hand side in the red, we have ourselves Gonzo playing the second New Zealand with... I think that's not a Vanguard income. If I recall, that might be a balanced income. And I think
That's
this is the
impossible.
first time we've seen a non-Vanguard income in what feels like a month at least.
It definitely does feel that way. It definitely does feel that way. And at the same time, actually, too, we're seeing for the first time, I think, since the second New Zealand came out, a full like field engineer opening, which is still not going to go particularly well for them. They're going to get forced to debark over here in the north. And I was saying to you just before we really got started with this, I feel like people are still trying to figure out how to play in New Zealand, and you opined that they were the third Canadian, just a little sexier. And
Yeah.
my first comment was, how can you say that about your countrymen? I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
Yeah, I mean, they're a pretty good division. I feel like they can make it work because the infantry is pretty interesting. The oblites, which I gave a lot of crap early on, are not that
Hmm.
bad. But they're your classic Sherman spam, and Sherman spam is definitely in vogue right now.
But that's the thing. I mean, you need to have those stabilizers. You need to have a good time with that. I guess the question kind of is, we know Panzer Lehr tends to be light vehicle central, as well as really kind of pushing that tempo. How can the second New Zealand kind of play off that? How can they delay?
I think it's going to be... The problem against fighting Panzer is, I mean, as already right now, Eugene has a bloody Panther D and is also getting Jagdpanzers out, which are pretty nasty armoured pieces to deal with as New Zealand does. In Gonzo's deck, he only has Wolverines as his heavy anti-tank weaponry. So I think those tank fights are going to be a little bit difficult, but you do have pretty good infantry of New Zealand, and by God, you get a lot of them.
Indeed, indeed. I mean, if you're looking right now, it's 94 to 46, so a 2-to-1 advantage if my maths are pretty accurate there. And Panzer Lehr really, I mean, except for like recon, basically gives away everything. I'm actually kind of excited to see maybe Boston's come over here and see.
Oh yeah, they also got the really awesome air power from New Zealand. But yeah,
I do want.
overall, like the early start for Gonjo's worked really well. The northern flank of the field engineer rush worked because the field engineers have the jeeps, which allow them to get into the front very quickly, just kind of like how early on in the game's life cycle resource cavalry PPSH rushes. The center point is definitely looking a little bit better for Eugene as he still has that Panther up and running, but at 6 pounder is gonna start rewarding him array.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is the Commonwealth, so we have it definitely is a 6 pounder. It's not a 57 mil, which is weird for me because as an American, we don't even use metrics. So,
Yeah, it's weird. I think I'd
so
probably call it like the 2-inch gun, 2.5 inch, however many inches 57mm is.
well, 2.2 centimeters, so just over 2 inches. 2 inch, maybe a two. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. It's too much math right now.
it definitely is. It definitely is. Now, one thing I was going to kind of talk about over here is that we look down to the south. We see that, oddly enough, I kind of forgot that New Zealand gets MG42s, which doesn't sound like it's really that funny until you realize that's like there's MG42s everywhere. So it's like Boyton material, but not quite. Like I'm not sure how I feel about it. Like I want desperately to like it, but
Yeah, and then they go all Lindy Bates by calling it a Spandau.
uh-huh.
Anyway, I mean, the main thing is that Eugene down south has got a very good position capturing the little farmstead area of some Stern Pioneers. I don't know for how long, because there's not... I mean, he has the Jagdpanzer supporting him, which is nice. But you're going to have a bunch of infantry coming as well as a Sherman, so we'll have to see how well Stern Pioneers can hold.
Well, yeah, and the Jagdpanzer is not in the most advantageous position. I mean, it's not the easiest place to use the Jagdpanzer in the lower third, but if you're going to, you might as well stick it in the saddle between the hill where he is right now and the next kind of forest right there. At least you can look down the road and get a good, 500, 1,000 meter coverage.
Yeah, it would definitely be a good position, but he doesn't have an infantry air right now, so he hasn't managed to exploit that, which is a shame on his end. And I feel like it's going to be one of the problems that Eugene's going to face is, even though he has, the pretty nasty heavy tanks, this map is not exactly heavy tank friendly. There's not a whole lot of open areas where you can really go to pound town with those scary Panther 75mm. And we have not one, not two, but three Panthers being brought into the center here from Yuejin. And this is a lot of heavy firepower, a lot of investment too. So will Yuejin be able to really take advantage of this?
I don't know. I really don't, because I feel like if I go and stick a Sherman in that town, you know, you see that the field engineers and the Oplites right there, stick a Sherman right there looking north, Panther's going to have to cross you. I mean, and that right there gives you a beautiful little side shot, and you don't need 4 Shermans for that. You basically just need 1.
Yeah, and the Panther does have pretty weak side armor, so it's definitely killable from a Sherman side shot. But yeah, I feel like the main issue for Eugene's push in the center is just going to be getting enough infantry out and about, and he doesn't have a whole lot of infantry early on. Really focusing on those Stern Pioneers and then a handful of those Panzer Grenadiers, really focusing on veterancy more than anything. Well, as we mentioned before, Gonzo pretty much has a 2-to-1 infantry numbers advantage, so he can just keep throwing diggers into that town to really delay any attacks.
And you know, like, I know we said it already that the infantry for the 2nd New Zealand can be kind of hit or miss. And I'm looking at the Oplites right now, Kitty Hawk coming in looking for some hits on that MG42, does very well. But the Oplites with the Grease Gun, the Lee Enfields, heck, even the Bren, I'm not saying they're going to be able to always go toe-to-toe with the Storm Pioneers, but they definitely have the reach on them.
Yeah, the Oplites are essentially a slightly better Commonwealth rifle squad, as they do have an extra machine gun, an extra submachine gun, extra guys in total, and the Raider tree, which is also a very nice added bonus. They're very cost efficient for 25 points. The only downside is that you don't really have any anti-tank with them.
Well, that's the Commonwealth overall. They don't believe in anti-tank.
No, you have like 5 guys with Piats, and that's about it. The Jagdpanzer is starting to get some good shots off onto its push, but I think a 6-pounder on Sherman will probably just be enough to ward it off. And yeah, Gonzo's going to be able to retake his southern position, which will be quite nice for him.
But we kind of knew that was going to happen. The question really was how long it was going to take. I kind of wanted to see having, you know, these 3 Panthers in the center, and actually I'm only seeing 2. No, there's the 3rd one. Now we have these 3 Panthers in the center. I kind of thought there'd be some sort of like Panzerkeil, like let's just go, let's race down the road. I mean, because we know for a fact that there's going to be maybe a Piat or 2, maybe an ambushing Sherman. Like, you said it yourself. No, for their anti-tank
There's a 4th Panther now. So he's really good. Like, he's getting the heavy firepower here, but he really needs to exploit it. He has the Panzers here. He's bringing in more infantry, the Panzer Grenadiers. I hope with the Panzer Grenadiers coming in, he is going to decide to finally do a push. Because this, even though it is not the best positioning for the Panther, it's not where they like to be located, so to speak. Like you said, there's not too much anti-tank here. There's a Wolverine being brought in, but even then, that's not super scary in a one-on-one against the Panther.
Well, and that's the thing, too, is that a 76 gun is not going to be efficient or effective, really, when the armor is paper thin.
Yeah. Yeah. And then in one-on-one, it's just not going to work. But yeah, we go. We are going to be seeing that push finally developing as all the Panzers and infantry are rushing on through. Very... Like, this is a lot of heavy armor. Most we've seen in 1v1 replay for quite a while.
You mean as opposed to what gets taken out and comes out, gets taken out and comes out and gets taken out? Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just...
Which is always embarrassing, but at the same time understandable. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, it's just such a huge concentration of Panthers, especially in A phase. So, of course, Yuejin is playing a Vanguard income. So, of course, you're going to be... You know, if you're going to get Panthers, you might as well get them in A phase.
But the Kitty... we haven't seen a ton of 2nd New Zealand air power, because usually at that point already, they've been getting kicked in the teeth. But that Kitty Hawk, very price efficient, decent, and trades out with the Focke-Wulf, and I actually think that might be a win.
Yeah, it's not bad. That was definitely like a raw trade of that Kitty Hawk, yeah, that's for sure. But yeah, his push in the center is developing.
Move, by the way.
Oh, ooh, Panther goes down! Wolverine.
Sherman goes down too, big deal.
Yeah.
In a second.
6-pounder is in a very good position to get an ambush shot. Like we said, Panthers don't have great side armor, so they can go down to these ambushes, but so can a Wolverine if it gets into the wrong side of the Panther, and that is being right in front of it.
Well, there's 2 more that are still on the south, not the south, the low side of the slope. So, you know, when the Panthers come forward, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think the main
Mhm.
thing here for Gonzo is that the southern side of the map is pretty securely under his control, as he managed to get that farmstead back, but he still controls the southern end of the central hill, and I do like his Sherman position where it has a slight damage, as that is a pretty sneaky spot to shoot stuff, but without any sights, he's not going to be able to spot anything to shoot.
One less Panther.
Damn, this is, like... I mean, Gonzo has lost a lot of territory, but he is knocking out his all-important Panthers, which is going to
And
be
another
key.
Panther.
Oh, god damn.
All the Panthers from A are gone. Now, to be fair, there's a potential to see 12 more Panthers and a ton more P4s. But I'm far less wetting my pants at the notion of fighting P4s than I am fighting Recon Panthers and just really all that madness.
Yes. Like, Yuejin has managed to get the geographical advantage by capturing the hill, but he took a lot of material losses taking that. So the question is whether he'll be able to hold it. Because once you capture the hill, it is relatively easy to hold if you manage to get stuff along the slope to shoot down at enemy reinforcements. But Gonzo is going to rush right on in with some oblites to control the forest, and also drop in some off-map to really scare anyone who just dared take his territory.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that the second New Zealand, I feel like you have to be a little bit more, let's say, profligate with your artillery assets, and that's one thing we haven't seen a ton of from our New Zealand players thus far. We do see that there is a card of mortars over here from A. Of course, nothing got brought in because everyone in the mother loves the off map, which just got taken out. But excuse me. I feel like that's a way to play second New Zealand. You have that distance material. You have to stress the things out because you don't have that kind of anti-tank firepower to really go and compete with a lot of these heavier divisions.
Yeah, you really have to play, just like with Third Canadians, you have to be very aggressive, getting closer with the enemy, and use your Shermans, use your 6-pounders, use your pretty cheap and effective infantry to just really just keep up the momentum. You don't want to be getting into long-range trade fights. And that seems like what Yuejin is setting up. He still has a Panther up on his hill, and if he can get into position, that can just shoot anything that dares come up the slope. Oh, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. These Wolverines have been really efficient. I mean, they are fighting at closer ranges, which is definitely helping out a lot. But this is great trade in terms of tanks that Gonzo is taking. He has lost like a lot of territory and material as well, but he's really getting the better, I'd say.
Well, and the perverse thing is, to a certain extent, he can take those losses.
Yeah.
He can take those losses. The Allied divisions are made to not be quality over quantity. Like, if I throw 15 guys at this, that's fine. I have another 24 that are coming in 5 minutes. So
yeah, I mean that Wolverine is only 50 points, while I think a regular Panther's like 130 points. So yeah,
yes.
you can lose like 2 to 3 Wolverines and still not be too bad.
The only thing I wish I could change with the second New Zealand is giving them just a smidge of infantry anti-tank. Just a smidge. Like those oplites right now engaging that Panther, it would have been fantastic.
Yeah. But that did not happen. And that is always like the hard part playing with Commonwealth divisions. Not having the anti-tank on the infantry when you need it really sucks.
Well, but you don't fight tanks with Piats. You fight them with a stiff upper lip. What?
You just throw a T-Mag at them.
Exactly.
But the T-Mag is filled with high explosives, of course.
Exactly. I mean, it's exactly what it is. It's the Boston Tea Party, but in Europe.
Exactly.
Which, by the way, you're welcome, Commonwealth. We gave you the idea.
Yeah.
Now,
rather cold to you.
What's that?
It was rather cold to you.
Oh, it was ice tea.
Putting it into the Atlantic, you know. You could at least, like, put it in, like, a warmer ocean, like the Pacific.
Actually, funny story, that's how Snapple got started. No, that's not how Snapple got started, for those of you out there who are like, really? No. No idea how Snapple got started. They put a lot of sugar, it sounds like, in the water, but that's a different thing altogether. These Panther Ds in the meantime, so, what, he gets 3? Yeah, he gets a total of 3 of them. I feel like we've seen 1 or 2 of them already get killed.
Yes, he has taken a lot of Panther losses. All in all, he is starting to reinforce now with more Panzer IVs, which can trade pretty well, especially in defensive, as he does have the veterancy bonus on them compared to the Shermans. But still, not the best, so to speak. It wasn't as good compared to having all these Panthers.
Actually, you know what I think was kind of a sexy thing here is you see that break in the trees. There's a P4, there's a Recon Panther D. I
Yeah?
think that's southeast. I feel like that would be the way to go. Take 3 P4s, take 4 P4s, swing around, and hit the slope. First of all, you know for a fact already that there's a ton of Shermans going in the northern approach. Go south. Go around. There's no reason for you to have to engage in these up straight slugfests.
Yeah.
We see the example of what happens to that whenever you do. You get 2 or 3 Shermans engaging your P4 or your half tracks, and you can ill afford to lose those.
Oh. I think that's also helping Gonzo a lot here too, is this southern push he's making on the hill is definitely putting on a bit of pressure as Yuejin is now having to relocate his forces to deal with this break. But
Sure.
Gonzo's playing this like really well, which isn't surprising because this is Gonzo we are talking about. He is keeping up momentum. He got kicked off that hill and he immediately rushed back onto it to try and at least have a foothold. And that foothold is now slowly starting to develop more, as we're starting to see.
Well, and that's the thing. If I could kind of go and pick out a couple of small bits of advice for newer players or less practiced individuals. Ooh, artillery shell took out the P4. I know there's a certain enthusiasm that when your opponent kicks you in the face, you want to lick your wounds for a little bit, build up, and try again. Not for nothing, but it usually tends to be that his lines are just as weak as yours. And while I don't want to go and just have a meat grinder fight, 'cause we definitely have seen that kind of fixation on a lot of different replays here, don't give up a position too easily.
Yeah, don't give up, never surrender, always counterattack. But honestly, you do have a very good point. It's a very good example as that counterattack immediately has managed to secure Gonzo to get that momentum and really slow down Yuejin. If Yuejin has managed to get a good defensive line on that hill with his Panthers, that really would have been it for Gonzo. Because once you completely capture the hill, it can be very hard to take it back. Gonzo's bet at that point, if that did happen, was to continue along his southern push here. And as we're seeing right now, his southern push is actually going pretty well, just at one Sherman maneuvering around these buildings.
Well, actually, it was partially helped out by the Digger's leader, which is shockingly enough, there was that 1 in a million, once a generation fight where a Piat actually hit something.
Whoa.
And the Sherman, for some reason, is engaging Pedrins.
I'm surprised you can even see that far. Oh, I guess because of the recce, but still, I'm quite surprised that sight lines even worked.
Well, and that is even worth it. I kind of thought they would go and fixate on something a little bit nearer to us. But,
Yeah.
what have you. But here we are coming up in 18 minutes, and it becomes 14-10. And I am thrilled, first of all, to see the fact that we've had this balanced in here so far, and even more so to see it be so effective in its, usage here of the second New Zealand.
Yeah, it's actually working pretty well. I mean, he did get his ass kicked towards the end of A phase with that big push, but he still has a good bit of territory down south. For now, as I'm just seeing this new push develop here from Yuejin, which I'm quite liking. His central push is pretty much gone down the toilet, so he's trying to open up a new flank and try to, relieve a bit of pressure up in the center by pushing down south. But I don't know how this is going to work. His Panzer Grenadiers are on foot, and they're going to take a little bit to get into that farmstead, which is going to give Gonzo some time to bring in some reinforcements here.
Yeah, and that's something I was going to make a comment about as well. So I like seeing these half tracks move forward, but it's a little hard to consolidate your ground when all you have is a couple of rinky-dink, 25 mil armor plates.
Yeah, and he's, a little bit cautious moving up his tanks until the infantry and half tracks really secure the hill and the farmstead area, which is really the literal firepower of that push.
True. Forgive me, I was watching as the Greeks continue to take back this central position between the Shermans, pushing back Sturm Pioneers, which again, we wax rhapsodic about how the Sturm Pioneer is such an effective unit in certain circumstances, and we're finding at the limit of those circumstances right now.
Yeah. Yeah, Flamethrower isn't going to help you too much against a Sherman. In this game, at least.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. In Men of War, it's a different story. And I don't think Company of Heroes Flamethrower is
No, Company of Heroes is completely worthless.
Yeah. That's how I feel.
Worthless. Been there, tried that, doesn't work.
No offense for anyone who plays Company of Heroes, it's just not a cup of tea.
Oh no, honestly, there's a lot of fun stuff about Company of Heroes. That's the reason I found my weird kind of half obsession half session with the Sturmtiger, which is so much fun to use. We have a suicidal lynx going through.
What the hell? What are you doing there, buddy? What was the plan? We'll never know now he's dead.
Yeah, I think it was because, like, there's a Wolverine, and while Lynx is a pretty cool cat, Wolverine's just cooler. Like, you can't beat the name Wolverine at this point.
That's true. That's true. It's a pretty kick-ass name.
Exactly.
I would name a high school after it, that's for sure.
I would name a rebel faction. If I ever had to fight the communists, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Khan.
Now down to the south, was this a Willie's OP? Yeah, so I'm not sure if that's the last OP, but geez, Panthers are getting taken out, P4s are getting taken out, and this entire push is now not even stillborn. That thing is DOA.
Yeah, I mean, that Sherman flanker on the Panther is absolutely clutch. Like, once again, really showing just how good aggressive positioning can be effective, and also one of the downsides of using, as we're seeing, Panther spam in this map. It's dangerous. You can get easily flanked on a map like this, and those Panthers do not like getting flanked.
No, they do not. And one thing I'm noticing thus far is we actually haven't seen any kind of anti-air over from the Panzer Lair.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm wondering if it might be a good idea just to bring in a Boston and just play for time.
Yeah,
Here's a Kitty Hawk going after that platoon. Oh no! Wow!
Whoa! I don't know if that Panther was like hit before, but still, like this has been a very bad day for Panthers, Khan.
Yeah, well, I mean they definitely were endangered before, and I'm kind of worried right now that they're going to be extinct here.
Yeah, and just seeing how the income is, like, Gonzo has Revered the Storm, he now has a 55-point income over Yuejin, and he has pretty good momentum.
Nope, 500 pounds of explosives apparently is enough to kill a Panther.
Wow. I mean,
So,
I'm not too surprised, but I'm still kind of surprised.
Yeah, I don't know if something got changed over here in a recent patch. I don't think so.
Don't think so. I think because it's like a pretty precise bomb. It's like a dive bomber. Because usually those types of bombs are on like high altitude rotation like bombers, which are a little less accurate. But anyway, nonetheless, Eugene surrenders, and that's a really good game from Gonzo. Like, jeez.
Absolutely, and I mean 1,200 difference between the two. I mean, about 1,100 actually. Excuse me. But overall, I mean, just solid trades. Oh, hey, there was an anti-air position that got taken out by a Sherman 3. But just solid. I mean, the Sherman's definitely the highlights of the game.
Yeah.
But not to be outdone. I mean, like, even the infantry was still very, very effective in what they did. Unfortunately, it just wasn't enough.
Yes. I feel like Eugene playing that Panther spam on that map just did not really work for him. I feel like on a map like Sluisk or something else that's a little bit more open, like Saskatchewan as well, you definitely could have run a little bit better, but when you're fighting close quarters, those New Zealand blokes are very nasty troops. You know that Panzer IV?
Yeah. Or
he did pretty
I'm
good.
not entirely sure.
He was more effective than the Panthers.
Well, and that's the other thing I was going to make a comment about, too, is I really kind of wish we had seen more of an air play from Panzer Lair. I know it's an unpopular idea, but I feel like if you go a little bit of extra air power, it takes the stress off troops.
Yeah, I also felt like as well, if you were going to play Panzer Lair on that map, in that matchup, in hindsight, Panzer IV spam probably would have, and probably a little bit more Nyak Panzers, would have been the way to go.
True, but hindsight is 2020, and we both definitely have our contacts on and glasses in. So
yeah, we're already past that year, thank God.
Oh my God, thank God, yeah, that's oh jeez.
Yeah. Anyway,
while we have PTSD about the last 12 months, first of all, I guess we'll see you guys a little bit later this week. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about 2020 again. I'm having an issue. Well, you know what, Rang? I think that's pretty much all we have to say about the match today, right?
Yep.
Well, in that case, folks, until next time, I'm Conal Work.
I'm Rangru. Take it easy.